Minecraft's prisons, possibly one of the greatest creations in the game. And if you don't believe me, well, just wait till you see some of the insane buildings later on in the video. You may think that prisons are more of a recent thing that people have only just started creating. However, that's where you're wrong. And so today in this video, I will be explaining the entire history of Minecraft prisons. Yeah, I guess. But just before the video starts, please make sure that you are subscribed, because according to YouTube, only...
Don't let your kids watch it!
P.S. I just made a brand new channel where I will be uploading in real life content. So if you want to see what this handsome strawberry looks in real life, then click the link in the top of the description and subscribe! Yeah, no one asked, so subscribe and follow my Twitch if you want to see more of this handsome strawberry. Believe it or not, Minecraft prisons have been a big part of the game since, well, the start. We've always needed a place to lock someone up for committing crime, whether that be stealing some of your diamonds, killing one of your pets, or committing arson. Moving on. So, when did the rise of Minecraft prisons begin? And how have we managed to progress from some little obsidian box with an iron door to, well, this? I mean, what the fuck? On the 10th of April, 2013, SkyDoesMinecraft uploaded the first Cops and Robbers video. Now, although this isn't titled Escaping Insane High Security Prison Gone Wrong, Cops Cold, this is essentially what the video is. So let's crack on. Firstly, what I'm going to do is give you a rundown of what the prison layout is, and then I will explain how to escape. As we can see just from the surroundings alone, the prison is, well, bad. I mean, it's literally made out of stone, but at the time, it was surprisingly deemed unescapable. No, I'm just kidding. The players would each start out in a cell, where they had little to nothing in there with them. I mean, they had a torch, which is kind of cool, and to be fair, it's more than what Dream has. The goal is to obviously escape, but how do they do this if there is a guard with maxed out enchantments eyeing them down like he's about to kill them? Haha, funny you should ask. Well, the guard actually lets them out of their cell. Why would they do this? Well, in these kind of prisons, it's more or less roleplay. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get a video. The guard will let them out for a few reasons. To take a shower, to go to the canteen, or because they're stupid. However, obviously when this happens, the players will try to escape. So, how do they do this? Well, let me explain. There are quite a few ways to escape. However, I'm only going to tell you the most common ways, as the others weren't used very often. So, once the prisoners are out of their cell, they will run down the corridor, passing the shower room and the canteen. They will then take a right and run all the way down the hall until they come to the warden's office. Once here, they open the door. However, doing this signals an alarm telling the warden that people are breaking into their office. And so, you've got to be quick. In the corner of the room, there is a pressure plate. When standing on this, it activates a redstone contraption for a certain amount of time. They run out of the office, back down the corridor, and to the staircase, where they would then be greeted with yet another pressure plate, which, if you remember me saying, only works for a certain amount of time after standing on the one in the office. Standing on this pressure plate teleports you onto the staircase, which, when you're there, you literally run for your life. Pretty much, you just run in a line and you're free. All you gotta do is just climb down the ladders from the prison and you're out. However, it doesn't end there. The convict will run across the open terrain until they reach the big bridge and the boat. Once here, you have successfully escaped the prison. But believe it or not, back in the day, that was quite hard. But compared to some prisons now, it is literally light work. You now know the origins of Minecraft prisons. Obviously, there were many more prisons after this, but they're irrelevant. So why all of a sudden, after over 8 years, have prisons made a comeback? Well, let me explain. The majority of people watching this video will know what the Pandora's Vault is. But if you don't, well then, where have you been? The Pandora's Vault is easily the most well-known prison, and is famous for holding captive a green Teletubby. This was said to be the most unescapable prison ever. That is, until somebody escaped it. A YouTuber by the name of Ray'swork managed to escape the original layout of the prison cell. He did this quite simply. First off, he broke the lectern and the glowstone in the cell, obtaining the dust and creating a block of glowstone, which he then placed in the lava, causing it to flow into the cell. Why would he want to do this, you may ask? Well, once the lava spread out, he placed a lectern next to it, which caused the lectern to set on fire, and of course, lit a nether portal. However, this only worked for a few days, as not long after, Awesome Dude, who is a prison guard, had replaced bits of the obsidian with crying obsidian, which if you don't know what this does, it basically doesn't allow you to create a nether portal because a crying obsidian acts as a deterrent in the way. However, on the 11th of March 2021, another YouTuber by the name of Parrot had escaped the prison cell in 60 seconds. Yeah, 60 seconds. I don't really know how he did this, but I mean, he did. You may be wondering, how is this even possible? Well, it's actually quite simple. Every time you log into Minecraft, you have a few seconds of resistance, which means if you jump into the lava, you won't actually take damage. So if you keep logging in and then out and then back in, you won't take damage. The only downside to this is being that Awesome Dude will just see Dream logging in and out about 20 times. Once you have surfed the lava and you have managed to get to the other side, you simply right click to sleep in the bed, and then finally you break the bed. Then all you gotta do is jump in the lava and die. What? You could have said that in a nicer way, man. Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. Sorry, let me rephrase. Then, all you gotta do is gracefully jump into the steaming hot lava and burn to death slowly, feeling every ounce of pain as that lava begins to eat away your skin. Just got a little bit carried away there. But obviously, as simple as this sounds, it was also very quickly patched, because Awesome Dude obviously watches how to escape the Dream SMP prison videos. He actually added a door, which meant you couldn't swim through to the other side, because obviously there's a wall in the way. And since the patch, there haven't been many more escape attempts, and I'm sure that there is actually some successful ones, but I'm not gonna lie, this prison sucks. I mean, compared to some of the new ones, it is literally nothing. Although, we can't forget, this prison was the beginning of something great. And no, I'm not talking about the other prisons, I'm talking about myself, because holy, without the Pandora's Vault, I would be sat on 2 subscribers. Poseidon's Vault. The first prison which truly sparked the war for who had the most inescapable prison. I mean, just looking at the prison alone, you already know this is going to be something absolutely insane. I can't lie, I don't really know how people come up with these kind of things. I mean, they're so complicated, it's untrue. Before I tell you how to escape the Poseidon's Vault, let me give you a tour around and show you the main layout of the prison. Poseidon's Vault was created by a YouTuber who you've probably heard of before, SeenSven. Okay, now hear me out. I'm sorry if I said the name wrong. I am so bad on pronunciations. But anyway, this guy's cool. SeenSven. I don't know how to say it. Now, when I tell you this guy's literally a genius, I mean it. You'll be hearing his name a lot more in the video. But for now, let's take a look around Poseidon's Vault. So, we start off by entering the prison. The portal system is actually very similar to the Pandora's Vault, apart from this one has some cool snazzy lights. When you go through the portal, you'll be greeted by a guard across the lava pit. Okay, I'll be honest, the minute I stepped into this vault, I was completely lost. I just had no clue what was going on. Everything just looked so complicated and secure. So hey, if you're ever gonna lock me up, just put me in a cardboard box and bam, you've got me. There's no way I'm getting out of that. Anyways, as I was saying, when you enter the prison, you have to put your items in a shulker box, which then magically disappears. Next, you set your spawn point on a bed, and then climb into a scary looking tube, which then kills you. They do this so they can check if you have any items on you, which means you can't smuggle anything in. And if you do have any items on you, they are automatically transported to a chest on the other side of the lava. After this, you then walk across the scary pit of steaming hot beans. This transports you to the other side, where you then set your spawn and you get killed again. Now, you're ready to go into the main prison cell. The cell itself is underwater, which is crazy. You basically live in a fish tank. You can't actually drown, as somewhere in the prison, there is a conduct. I don't know how to say it, but basically, you can breathe. The walls are only cobblestone, which seems pretty easy to break, right? Wrong. You actually have mining fatigue, and you are also underwater, which means it's going to take you much longer, and to be precise, 4 hours to break one block. And to top it off with a cherry, the wall is a cobblestone generator, which means once one block is broken in the cell, it is just replaced. If you'd like a more in-depth tour around the prison, then please do check out SeenSven's videos. He is actually the one who created it, and like I mentioned earlier, he's a genius. So be sure to check out his video on the prison, but only after you finish this one. So, this leads us to our question. How could anybody possibly escape this insane creation? I mean, it looks impossible. Well, my friends, it is. And that's the end of the video. Nah, I'm just kidding. I need the ad revenue. A YouTuber by the name of Myfredak managed to escape Poseidon's Vault. This guy is literally the Minecraft version of Houdini. I mean, he can escape anything. So, let's dive into how Myfredak escaped Poseidon's vault. First off, Mithridates managed to find the nether portal hub to the prison and created his own portal just next to it. He then filled his ender chest with overpowered items and a weird amount of milk. He took out a tunnel which went into the nether portal hub and then covered it with a barrel. This way, it was completely hidden. Now, he's ready to enter the prison. When opening the shulker box, he didn't put anything in, but instead, he threw a sign on the floor and left the rest of his junk in his inventory. This way, the guard will see the useless items on his body and not think much of it. However, what the guard won't see is a sign. You see, he actually threw it on the floor next to the shulker box, which means it's out of the vision of the guard, who by the way is on the other side of the moving bridge. Just as he is about to cross the bridge, he picks up the sign and takes it with him. As the guard is about to kill him for the second time, he throws the sign onto the floor. But yet again, the sign won't be in vision of the guard, and so they will suspect nothing. Once he respawns, he simply picks up the sign and then enters the cell, and that's it. Mithridates is now in the cell, with just a sign. Once alone in the cell, he sits and mines one piece of cobblestone until it finally breaks. Once he breaks a piece of cobblestone, he quickly places a sign there. This stops the wall from regenerating and placing another cobblestone block there, and according to Mithridates, doesn't alert the prison guards. If you didn't know, when one piece of cobblestone is broken and it is regenerated, this alerts the prison guards. However, because he placed a sign there, the cobblestone physically can't regenerate because it's being locked. I know, confusing, right? I mean, I don't know how this guy finds all of this stuff out, but he's a genius. Once the sign has been placed, he swims into the compartment and destroys his bed. However, he has no way of killing himself, as he can't drown and you can't starve unless the game is in hard mode. So instead what he does is he purposely alerts the guards. Naturally thinking that he is trying to break out, which of course he is by the way, the guards will be forced to open the tunnel to get to him. However, what they didn't know was this was Mithridates' plan all along. When the tunnel has been opened, he uses the water source to swim across the 1 block gap. Then, and only then, he runs. Mithridates will run through the halls of the prison whilst being chased by many guards stacked to the brim with enchanted gear. Whilst on the way to the portal, he grabs his useless items. He places cobwebs on the floor to slow him down and ender pearls to the other side of the bridge. He then enters the nether portal, opens his ender chest, grabs the axe, milk and exits using the secret tunnel he dug out earlier on. Then finally, he escapes using his own nether portal and he is free. Now obviously, there are many more prisons, some which to this day, people haven't escaped, but that's for another video. So if you would like to see a part 2 to this where I'll showcase all the brand new prisons, which let me tell you, they're even more incredible than these ones in this video, then please do be sure to like, subscribe, and comment which one of these prisons was your favourite. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.